What is going on, everybody? Minus here from Pantheon Plus. Hey, hi, hiya.
Yeah.
We are continuing our videos on races, and we've talked about two edgelords. I mean, evil races. We talked about ogres. We talked about Scar. If you haven't watched our other videos, we try to keep these in a format that you can play along at home. In the comments in Reddit.
He means homework. He's giving you homework.
Do your homework. Yeah, so go ahead and play along to the points. Here's a quick rundown of the formula we're using here for these pretty short little takes on how we feel about the races and what to expect. So first and foremost, we're going to introduce the race by kind of talking about them as a general race and talk about what their alignment will look like. You can feel free to disagree with us or post your own thoughts. We're going to talk about the available classes and sort of what we see the main class for that race being. You know, when you see a lot of them running around, is there going to be one class in particular that you see a lot more of, or at least some type of class? So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about what other MMOs we can point to that sort of remind us of the class or how it, or I'm sorry, the race. I did it. The race that sort of, like I said, in other MMOs paints the picture of this. Doesn't have to necessarily look just like it, but kind of maybe even lore wise or whatever we think. And then we're going to go ahead and rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 with anything we're thinking. There's no holds barred on that. Whatever you would like to rate it for any reason, go ahead. So now we're going to shift gears. Instead of going for all the evil races, we're going to shift into, in my opinion, the most unique race in the game and taking a concept that's been around since the beginning of D&D and flipping it on its head. And that's the gnome. So Hayah, before we started filming, you're pretty harsh on these little guys.
Yeah, I was throwing some shade. Yep. I don't. Anyway, let's carry on with the video and I'll do my piece when I do my rating.
So the alignment, they look to be sort of a neutral race. I don't think they're looking to hurt anybody. They're sort of, I get this very explorer vibe, like space explorer vibe. Like, we're so based on technology and the magics of the universe that every stop on a planet we're on, because these guys have been on a planet that blew up. They traveled in space as a race, and they came to Terminus. And to me, so first and foremost, let's talk about the fact that they're called gnomes, right? They could have called these things whatever they wanted.
Oh, a million different things. Yeah.
Yeah, they could have made a whole new thing for this. But they specifically called them gnomes because they wanted to take a traditional thing and just flip it on its head. And I really, really like it. Me and you are very different on this race in a lot of ways.
Well, let me set it straight. And I agree with you from that standpoint. From a gameplay standpoint, I'm not interested. I do agree that the lore of them is really cool, and it's a neat concept, and I've seen it one other time, and that's where I land on these guys.
Yeah. So the classes that they can be, enchanter, necromancer, rogue, summoner, wizard. So it's interesting because the class that I'm going to play, everybody knows at this point, is rogue. And this is in the running for me, as there's 3 choices I'm between right now. And this is near the top for me. And it's weird because I also sort of feel like it doesn't fit.
It doesn't belong. Rogue stands out like a sore thumb when you come to the gnome.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this being that they've created in Gnome that is essentially a encased essence. Is a lot what they are. And they're so we've seen videos where they're glowing. We've seen videos where they're not. I don't know where really VR is standing on that right now, or if there's things that can make you glow. But we've also not seen a lot of variance in their model, which does scare me for like, what is armor going to look like for these guys? Is it going to be radical changing because they don't have a physical body? Is it going to just go over their shell? So there's a lot of questions to be asked for this, but yeah. So, I mean, straightforward, enchanter, summoner, wizard, perfect.
All the int class casters, all the smarty pantses, it just makes sense because they're
In
That's what
Necro,
they do.
Necro's also an int base, so it makes sense. I think it's the least of those three for sure. I think the
Yeah.
element controlling and the summoning and the pure magic, Necromancer's a little
Yep.
different, a little darker magic. I don't think it fits the gnome as well, but that's kind of
Hmm.
what makes them neutral, right? So,
Yeah.
why I think that I like them as a rogue is the stature. They're small. If they're not
Yeah.
glowing, they can be really sneaky. If there's ever a way to turn invisible, these guys should be able to do it. So from a sneaking, a magical sneaking, not just like the
Hmm.
assumption of they're real quiet, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And again, they're smaller, so I kind of like that.
That would be a really neat thing if VR did that. If the gnome rogues had a different way to stealth than every other rogue, that would be super cool.
That'd be really cool.
A
Um,
magic based stealth.
so you interest me because you just said something that you didn't tell me before. You said it reminds you of something else. So what does it
Hmm.
remind you of?
Are you ready for the big reveal?
I'm ready.
You've played Elder Scrolls games.
Hmm?
It wasn't a playable race, but it was always background lore stuff. The Dwemer.
Hmm.
So if you played Skyrim particularly, because everyone's played Skyrim, I don't know if you have.
Yeah, yeah.
There were Dwemer ruins, and it was this ancient race that had disappeared off of the planet that were supremely technologically advanced and small in stature.
Hmm.
That's what I get a huge Dwemer vibe from the gnomes in this game.
That's a pretty good. That's really good actually. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
For me, there's the tiny part of it that reminds me of every gnome, the very tiny part, and not just the size,
Yep.
but the fact that they are tinkers. They seem to be tinkers, and it seems like this
Yeah.
gnome may have been a tinkerer to its own demise.
To its own disadvantage for sure.
Something happened to them, right? I mean, I'm sure you almost think they were regular gnomes at some point. That's the only reason to use the gnome.
To use the name.
Yeah. So for me, and again, this isn't, I don't have a book here from VR, but for me is if you're going to use this name, we know what a gnome is. They're still small. There's been disasters. They're into the arcane and magic. So you assume in their lore that they were a physical being that disaster occurred and this is how they sustained life. So it's very interesting to me. I think the different thing too is that I don't know how different females and males are going to look. It may be very subtle.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting because essentially the way I see them, and I could be wrong, is that again they're just this magical essence inside a casing. Almost like, do you remember like I don't even remember what game it was, but like the magical suits of armor that you'd see, like that's what they feel like to me.
Yeah.
But they're tiny and they wear a
But
cape.
they're super tiny. Pocket sized.
But yeah, I mean, like I could just see them with the little cape and the hood down, like sneaking and stabbing somebody. The hood, I think maybe the hood does it. If it was just the cape and them, and like a shiny metal head, yeah. But that hood, like over their face, gives them that little sneak. Okay, so I'll rate it first on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm
Yep.
going to give this one a 9. I am a
really?
I'm a very big fan. We didn't really talk about completely what race we think they'll be most. I'm going to say you're probably going to see. I'm going to say
casters.
Wizard
It's the
Summoner.
casters.
Wizard
Yeah.
Summoner. I think more than anything, you'll see. Yeah, I mean, Enchanter could be, but I really think Wizard and Summoner are going to be the key. Yeah, I'll give it a 9 because it fits those. And the main reason I'm giving it a 9 is it's a neutral class. It's a really cool lore. They're cool in stature and appearance. They're unique. They fit lore for, one of the things we talked about in one of our original class videos is that there's certain classes that just feel really, they have that identity to them. And the gnome has such an identity and it ties so well into a wizard or summoner that's just really cool. Being like summoning up these fire elementals and these different elementals and stuff is really cool. So I do think that even though I'm looking at them as a rogue, possibly, I do think that they're really cool. So I'll give them a 9. I really like what they've done. I'm excited to learn more. I actually want more lore. I'm not huge into lore in most games. So
More lore?
I
Want
want a
some
little
more lore?
more. I want a little more. So, and 2, Brute.
So they gain points for their lore and how cool the concept is. But I'm just a guy who likes, old school little people gnomes. Like it's just my thing. I like it.
Big heads.
I rate them, to be generous with the lore points, I'm going to give them a 3.
Ooh.
Yeah, I can't see myself playing them.
You put them under ogres.
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I don't know really what else to say.
No, that's all you need to say. So down below in our video here, there should be a card that pops up for Mr. Christopher Kane, the best voice actor I've ever heard because I know him. And he listens to things I say, so I'm going to give him props. He's also really good at it. If you want to know more about the lore, and for me, I don't know why, when I try to read Pantheon's lore, I just get lost in it. There's so many words and names and things. And when Chris is just reading it to me, I just sit back and I just say,
it's a great way to immerse yourself for however long that specific video lasts, but it's really, really good.
Yep. So after just a quick hit here with us, please click on that, jump to that. You can continue learning a little bit more about Gnome. We're not going to repeat it because we can't do it as good. Throw your comments in the bottom. Like I said, what do you think of the Gnome?